fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I did a channel update at the beginning of the water signs video yesterday, so if you want to know what's been going on with me, you can watch the first few minutes of that video. I am going to light a candle. I'm going to light this candle to clear the space. So this is a white candle. White is kind of a blank canvas as far as candle magic is concerned. And it's excellent for purification of spaces. This one is just kind of relaxing. It has a really pleasant lavender vanilla smell. I do have my door open, and I also have like some windows open in the apartment, so if you hear some loud noises, that's why. But I wanted to have the space kind of opened up. So fire signs, go ahead and set your intention for the reading. Hi, Divine Nation. Thank you for coming. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. All right, so I have to categorize everything on my desk. I apologize. My desk is not dirty. I just, I forgot to categorize everything before I got started. And I will be using my plastic tarot cards again. I really love these cards, I have to admit. So we're going to start with the fire sign of Aries. And could be Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. Jupiter's in Aries right now. I think, what else is in Aries right now? Mars and Jupiter are in Aries. I updated my planetary calendar, I guess is a good way to describe it. Aries is all about beginnings. We do have a Mercury retrograde going on until Friday, so if things have been a bit wonky for you in regards to the sector of communication, possibly siblings. Mercury started out in Gemini, and now it has moved into Taurus, backed up into the sign of Taurus. So Mercury could also be affecting things having to do with your stability and your finances. But the thing about Mercury retrogrades is that they're really good for adjusting things that need to be tweaked, need to be fixed, need to be repaired. If there are systems that are set up in your life that are not really working for you, Mercury retrogrades will clear those things out of your life. We also have a Saturn retrograde coming up, so that's going to be exciting. Aries, if you would like to go ahead and set your intention for this reading, and then if there are things that are stressful to you at this time, or that are making you uncomfortable or anxious, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. So inhale and draw in the divine white light of Source, and then exhale and just sigh out any of that tension, any of that discomfort. Just allow it to leave your body with your breath, and it will be returned to Source, and it will be transmuted. Oh yes, I mean, because the retrogrades are not like a bad thing, right? Just like having to revise something is not necessarily a bad thing. Your first draft isn't necessarily your best draft. So, Aries, I'm going to write down your timestamp. I got a new desk. It was free. Here we are on the last day of May. Hi, Ultra. Thank you for coming. You are always welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Aries. That's an exciting plane noise. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's very nice. It's like a solid wood desk. I was shocked to find it on the side of the road in Echo Park. Aries, you used up all the good cards in your reading today, I have to say. So here in the past, we've got the Three of Cups. This is a card about friendship. It is a card about close-knit alliances. And there could have been a time in the past, Aries, where maybe you started spending more time with a group of friends that is carrying into the present. This could be making a group of friends that's very good, very positive for you, very positive influence on you. And that has carried into the current situation. And the current situation is also quite good. We have a couple of tens in your reading, the first of which is in the place of the significator, and it is the Ten of Pentacles. So we have the passive tens in your reading. We have the Ten of Pentacles. We have the Ten of Cups. I haven't gotten there yet. The Ten of Pentacles is, of course, generational wealth. It is about stability. It is about financial success to last generations. So that could be something, Aries, that has come around for you, and it might have something to do with having fostered a very close-knit friend group around yourself, because it's crossed by the star. Now, the star is about your hopes and dreams being fulfilled, but the star is also aligned with Aquarius energy, and so has to do with your social groups. And if you notice, the star is pouring out these two jugs of water, one of them onto the ground and one of them back into the pool, presumably from whence they came. And that represents the energy and emotion that you're putting into these friendships. So hopes and dreams being fulfilled, but also overtones there of this closeness, this emotional closeness with others. The Three of Cups can even be a polycule if that's the kind of thing that you're into, but not necessarily. So now we're going to look at the Imam Silai. And this is a card that is taking place in the current situation and is going to show us a little bit about what the foundations and origins of your goal or destiny are going to be up in the midheaven. And the card that we have there is the Justice card. Now, the Justice card is showing up in the upright for you, Aries, showing that justice will be served in the current situation. And this could have to do not just with a court case or something where there's a legal contract, but also the equanimity of situations with other people. So, not quite like the Two of Pentacles, where we're talking about balance, but definitely there's a fairness to it. There's air sign energy, so it can also be communication. So we have two really strong air sign cards, Aries, coming out in your reading already. The Star card, fixed Aquarius air energy, and the Justice card, fellow cardinal sign of Libra. So you might want to see where those exist in your chart. Libra, as a cardinal sign, is going to be square to the sign of Aries. Now we're going to look at some perspectives on the current situation. So your perspective on the current situation. Is the Moon card. And the Moon card is about a potentially treacherous path that is traversed without proper light. So it could be in the dark. Things could be unclear or obscure. The Moon card does also have to do with artistic endeavors. So it can be about that a bit as well, especially because I feel like artistic endeavors help us to define the undefinable. So that's kind of where that definition comes from for the Moon card. But this is your perspective on the matter. That things are a little bit unclear right now for you from your perspective. So this could have to do with the way that this is being balanced out. Everything is going really well as far as I can see up until the current situation. From an outside person's perspective on the current situation, we do have the Emperor reversed. So the Emperor is your card, Aries. So you're showing up in your reading, but you're showing up in the reverse. So people around you might see you as being unfair, and more importantly, unfairly leveraging your authority in some way. Now, I do think that this is coming from a place where you're not entirely certain where you stand with other people. And this might just be their perception of the issue, too, because if we're talking about a situation where justice is being served and you are the beneficiary of that that mandate, excuse me, then people might feel like you have gotten an unfair advantage in some way, or, oh, you get to do whatever you want because you're the boss or something like that. So some of you might be a supervisor or a boss at a job, and things are unclear right now, and the employees obviously don't have the same information that you have, and it makes them think that you're being unfair. But justice is being served in this situation, whatever it is. Here in the future for you, Aries, and that's just one kind of situation that it could be, because obviously the emperor being this authority figure, this could also be a patriarch. I know not all of you are still in the workforce, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a workplace. It could also be that you're the patriarch of a family, or you are the leader of a family, and people think that you're making unfair decisions because of your position. But actually you're doing it because things are quite unclear right now, and that is justice being served. Just to give you a little more context for your own life, as this is a general reading. So here in the future for you, Aries, we do have the King of Cups in the reverse. If you are a parent and you have kids leaving home, you may be not providing for them as much anymore in the future. And that could even be what this situation is talking about, right? That part of the equanimity of them moving out, it's very unclear for you where you stand in that situation, but the equanimity is that they might be moving out because they see you as being, too overbearing. This King of Cups, if you are a boss and you've tried to be very nurturing to your employees and kind of like a mentor to them, you might have to let somebody go that you really felt like had a lot of promise, and you were trying to be a good mentor to them. So those are just a couple of situations where those cards could apply. But again, it's a general reading. It could apply in a lot of ways. Now, I don't think this has to do with this friend group here. I think that friend group is your strength. This could even be like a board of directors if you're all very close. It could be a kind of a business that you have started with a group of friends. Additionally, you could have a friend group that's very close, and they're helping you to navigate this time when your kids are leaving home. Or, this could even be a roommate situation, right? And the way that that looks is that maybe you like things clean around the house. And maybe you have some friends who are supporting you and some friends who think you're a bit of a despot. But moving forward, you're going to be saying to those people, hey, look, I'm a person too. And I really wanted to be nurturing to you, but you saw it as overbearing, so I'm going to back off. The King of Cups can have a tendency toward emotional manipulation, so I would say look out for that. It is air of water energy, so there's that logical mind to it, and also that water, that emotion. And we have a good balance between active and passive energies there as well. Here in your hopes and fears, we have the Ten of Cups in the upright. And Aries, we have both of the passive tens in your reading, the good tens, as I like to call them, because, of course, the active tens are the Ten of Wands and the Ten of Swords, which can be a little difficult of energies to work through. The Ten of Cups here is all about emotional satiety and happiness. So that could be what you're hoping for overall in this situation, that the way you have brought everything together financially in this situation and the potential to leave a legacy for others, you're hoping that emotionally things will play out in a similar way. Now, Aries, up here in the midheaven, this is going to be the result of this justice. So this is a Libra energy. And we have Venus energy with the Empress. Justice is very fair, everything being balanced out, kind of arbitrated, right? Kind of that we're weighing options, we're weighing all of these things and looking at where they fit the best. So where we have this Empress energy, you, Aries, are finding where you fit the best. That because we had this Emperor card coming out in the reverse from other people's perspective, and then we have this period of time where there's the King of Cups in the reverse, you're taking a step back. You're taking literally a less active role. The Empress is a passive role, whereas the Emperor is somebody who passes edicts and lays down the law. The Empress is someone who allows others to come to her to bring her things. She does not need to lift a finger. She never wants for anything. And of course, the Empress can also represent the Divine Mother energy. So you could be taking not necessarily a more feminine role, because I don't like to look at it as like masculine versus feminine. I like to look at it in terms of like active energy versus passive energy. And I think we all have a reasonable balance of both. But if you look at the traits, you will see where there's a lot of overlap between passive traits and feminine traits, and the active traits and the so-called masculine traits. So if that helps you kind of think about it in those terms, then I welcome you to do so. And my final advice for you in this reading, Aries. Now, we see this kind of in the place of the significator, because the Star card, that is a solitary figure. And even on the Ten of Pentacles, the implication is that this gentleman here in the background, he's kind of being disregarded by everybody but the dogs, right? Even though he's leaving this fortune down to his family members and his beautifully appointed villa and all of that. That he's largely become disregarded in that sense. Here in the final outcome, we have the Nine of Pentacles. And this is a card of financial success, financial independence. And more importantly, we have this figure here on the card who is somewhat similar to the Empress, right? Very much in control of her own domain. She has time for her favorite hobbies. And she doesn't really answer to anyone else. She's not answering to anyone else. So that is an invitation for you, Aries, to embrace your solitude, and independence that comes with that solitude. I think that you have some very good friends, and you don't need to cling to them so tightly that they feel like you're overbearing. I think that it's nice to buy things for other people. It's nice to provide for other people, but it does kind of muddy the waters and make the expectations on both sides a bit unclear. So I hope that this reading has resonated with you. I try to leave the readings a little bit open-ended, and try to apply them to a few different scenarios so that you can kind of see how the cards might relate to your own life. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Aries, for joining me today. I will be going after this to do some crystal scrying over on the member side of the channel, and I have another beautiful large chunk of mica that I found while we were fossil hunting in Simi Valley. So I will be using that in the extended videos this week. You are cordially invited. But your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. So next we're going to move on to the sign of Leo. Again, could be sun, moon, rising, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. We don't have any planetary bodies in Leo at this moment, but the moon will be moving into Leo later this week. We had the new moon in Gemini, and as the moon waxes and grows larger. Hi, Aesthetica Celine. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. The moon will be in Leo. I think, well, I don't have to think about it. I'll just look at my references. Yes, the moon is moving into Leo on Friday, the same day that Mercury goes direct, and the day before the Saturn retrograde. So the moon will be in Leo at the time of the Saturn retrograde, and I did make a note that there's going to be a square very early in the morning with Venus and Taurus. You could be pushed out of a comfort zone by creativity or hubris, and this might have financial ramifications. And I say this, of course, to myself just as much as anyone else. So, Leo, if you would, go ahead and set your intention. And just allow any thoughts that you have you'd like to address. Oh, thank you. It's good to see you, and I'm glad that you were able to make it. I will be getting more regular as I get worked into my new work schedule. And Leo, if any of the thoughts rising to the forefront of your mind are making you uncomfortable or anxious, I invite you to just gently breathe through that energy. So as you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source. And as you exhale, just release any of that discomfort, any of that tension, angst. It could be physical or emotional discomfort. So you can do a little bit of a body scan as you're exhaling that energy. It will be returned to Source and it will be transmuted. So I don't need to mention too much here that I have been going through a lot of changes in my own life. And I am a Leo sun. Let me write down the timestamp for your sign. And we can get into the reading. So here in the past, Leo, we have the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune, of course, is a card about how cycles turn in your favor. This is one of the cards in the major arcana that features all of the fixed signs. There's this card, and then there's the world card. The world card is kind of like the final completion. So the Wheel of Fortune is the upswing, and then the world card is the completion. And we have the fixed signs on both of those cards because there is a stability to that. There's a stability to the cyclical nature of things, even though there is perpetual change within them as well. Now, this card is showing up in the upright in the past. So that tells us that not only did fortune turn to your favor in the recent past, but that this good fortune is going to be continuing into the current situation. Believe it or not. Here in the place of the significator, this was the very first card that I pulled, and it is a fellow fixed card sign, the Death card, and it is crossed by the Ace of Swords. So that's a lot to unpack. Let's talk about this. Maxwell, we are on the sign of Leo. I just started not too long ago. When the live stream is over, I'm going to put timestamps down in the description. Thank you for asking, and thank you for joining us today. So the Death card is about transformations. There can be physical death involved. It can be somewhat painful. There can be bargaining. There can be grief. If you look back here, you even see the towers from the Moon card, showing that there can be things about it that are very unclear. And it's interesting that this is Scorpio's card, because Scorpio is also a fixed sign, is the ruler of the 8th house, having to do with death, sex, and other people's property. Now, this card is crossed by this active air energy, the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is a bit like the Ace of Spades in playing card decks, and is often used as an analog for the Death card. So what's the difference here? The difference is that sometimes the role that you play in this transformation is very passive, that you don't have a lot of control over the situation. Whereas the Ace of Swords is driven by your action. The Ace of Swords is striving to make a change in your own existence, Leo. So this Death card situation could be something that you've precipitated, but you could just be taking control during this time of great change. And we have another sword card in the future position. I haven't gotten there just yet, but is kind of reinforcing that as well. So down in the Imam Sili, that's the card about the current situation that is going to tell us what the origins and foundations are going to be for the future. And we'll look at that when we talk about the midheaven. So in that position, we have the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is a card about celebration. It is a card, it can be a card of marriage, it can be a card of purchasing or building property, building upon property. There could even be remodeling, but it has to do with a kind of scenario where you have a happily ever after situation that provides a good foundation for a better future. So that is a great card to get in a foundational position like the MMCLI. Now, some people do call this the 1111 card because we have the four staffs here that look very much like 1111. So can be about wish fulfillment to some extent as well. That there are wishes being fulfilled for you at this time. From your perspective, Leo, this card is very telling for your state of mind. We have the Eight of Swords. And interestingly enough, whereas we can see by the cards in the significator that you have taken action in a situation to propel it forward, we can see that you feel a little bit stuck. You feel like you haven't done that, Leo, at all. This person has these kind of loose bindings around them, and they are also surrounded by these eight swords, such that they might be bumping into these swords, thinking that they don't really have a way forward, when in fact they do. And if this person were to wriggle around enough, they could probably free themselves from these wrappings and remove that blindfold and be able to see what is all around them and see the way forward. So we do get some contradictory information here, that even though you have taken clear and necessary action in a situation, you do not feel like that is what has happened, because maybe you don't see the result. Maybe the result is behind you. As you can see up on this cliff, there's, kind of like a palace built into this cliff face. And that person doesn't even see it because they are blindfolded and they feel trapped. And again, from an outsider's perspective on the situation, Leo, we have this card of planning and vision boards and plotting out a course with the Two of Wands. This is another card, not necessarily of action, but of the precursors to action. That you have taken the time and effort to set out a very clear and direct plan that you will be able to implement. So it's very strange that you should feel trapped in this situation. What I get from that Eight of Swords in your perspective is that there are elements of this manifestation that have to do with divine timing. And that is why you are not yet seeing what is right in front of you. Now, here in the future, we have another sword that is much more directly related to this Ace of Swords. And that is the Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords is somebody who is not afraid to promote the truth in a situation. And as a matter of fact, I think that it's going to be very important for you moving forward, Leo, to speak your truth, be honest with people about what you want, and be honest with yourself about what you want as well. I think you're very clear on what you want. That's what's coming through with this Ace of Swords. This is a very direct energy. This Two of Wands, this is a very direct energy, and it has a lot to do with looking forward into the future. And you have a very strong foundation to build upon here. So showing up in your hopes and fears, that's going to be in opposition to where we have this Eight of Swords. We have another 8 up here in your hopes and fears, and that is the 8 of Pentacles. You want to have... Hi, Maria. Thank you for coming. It's so good to see you. I like your little moon emoji that's blue. I like that guy. Oh, you must have a fire moon, right? So what you really want, Leo, is the security of long-term career or long-term streams of income. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was like, oh no, what's sad about this reading? I thought it was really good. That's what you're hoping for. But what if you get something better? What if you get to do whatever you want and money just appears magically on your doorstep and you never have to work for it? There's a security in that as well. So what we have in the midheaven, that is going to be the result of this very strong foundation that you've set up for yourself. And in the midheaven here, we have the Seven of Wands. Now, the Seven of Wands is a card of action, and it is a card that implies conflict, but it's not a bad card necessarily. This person has achieved a pinnacle of success. They have managed to seize this advantageous position. And everyone around them is now targeting them because of it. But that can look a lot of different ways, Leo. And especially if you are doing something where you want to be very visible, you want to be in the public eye. The Seven of Wands is a very good card to get in that position. But it is important to understand everything that comes along with that. And if you have been putting yourself out there into the public eye, I'm sure that you've encountered some of those things already and have learned some different ways to cope with them. So now, the final outcome card. This is kind of like the advice and some little extra loose ends getting tied up. I'm just telling you kind of what you need to hear to move forward. And interestingly enough, we get Taurus's card, the Hierophant. So one thing that I mentioned prior to the timestamp was that there's going to be a square on Friday between the Leo moon and Venus and Taurus. So that there might be a conflict between your stability and your creativity. And that could manifest in different ways. And with Venus also tied up in that, it could have to do with your money situation. Venus in Libra, its other ruler, or its other native sign rather, is more about the relationship side of Venus. But Venus in Taurus can be very much about money and the stability that it can buy. So where we have the Hierophant coming out in the final outcome position, there's a few implications to this. The Hierophant is a spiritual leader, somebody whose power does not come through might and force necessarily, somebody whose power comes through their ability to lead the hearts and the souls of their congregation. And especially if you are somebody who is in the public eye and you have a focus on putting positive things out into the world, the Hierophant card is encouraging you to continue in that direction. And there's also implications. Now, the Queen of Swords herself does not necessarily have anything to do with the Hierophant, other than that they're both rulers. But they're also both promoting the truth and assumed to be speaking the truth. So the Hierophant, you're not going to be able to take a backseat to others. You're not going to be able to, and especially with everything that's going on for you right now, Leo, you're going to have to step into a leadership role in a way that promotes positivity, in a way that is not driven by force, but rather by cooperation and respect for divinity and the greater order of the universe. So that is my advice for you this week, Leo. And now we are going to move on to the sign of Sagittarius. I am going to be going after the tarot reading over to the member side of the channel to do some crystal scrying with this beautiful piece of mica stone that I found while we were fossil hunting in Simi Valley. So if that interests you, you're cordially invited, but your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. All right, so now the sign of Sagittarius. There's not a great deal going on in your sign right now, Sagittarius. There is a bit of activity surrounding your opposite sign of Gemini, in that the sun is in Gemini right now. And so the full moon will be in Sagittarius, I think later this month. I think our previous full moon was in Scorpio. Yeah. So that's coming up. We are in the waxing phase now, but it just began. We just had that new moon. So it will be some time before that cycle comes back around again, where the sun is in opposition to the moon. Now, Scorpio, if you would like to go ahead and set your intention for this reading and allow any concerns, anything that you'd like to know more about, to rise up to the forefront of your thoughts and wait there patiently. And if any of these things are causing you discomfort or anxiety, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. And as you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source. And then as you exhale, just release any of that tension or stress, and it will return to Source, and it will be transmuted. And it will need to be transmuted because I am seeing some very complicated cards coming up for you this week, Sagittarius. So that doesn't necessarily mean that your week is going to be the worst. right? And of course, nothing that I say here. Let me write down the timestamp before I say this because it's important. Nothing I say here in this tarot reading is going to supersede the importance of your own free will. I'm very flattered that you would think I have control over your life or that these cards would have control over your life. And I'm prefacing this because I'm just going to go ahead and start with the significator. And then we'll talk about the past and move around the circle from there. Because the cards that I have in the place of the significator, we have the Three of Swords and we have the Ten of Swords. So, Sagittarius, that shows me that there could be a very difficult ending going on for you right now. That might not necessarily be the case, but that is what is coming out in this particular reading. Now, I do see that it's not all bad, because in the past, we have a wish fulfillment here, and this card is in the upright. So, even though there is a very painful ending going on around you currently, I think that there was something that was a wish fulfillment that also continues into the current situation. So sometimes life is just a mixed bag, and it's not going to be all good at one time or all bad at one time. We get electric cars, but we also get billionaires. Am I right? So, down here in the Immanucili, this is the foundation of everything that's going to be going on in the goal or destiny of the situation. And this is the foundation that is occurring currently in the present environment. And the card we have there is a card that can represent you, Sagittarius, the Queen of Wands. Somebody who's very charismatic, somebody who's very confident. This is water, fire energy, and so is a very balanced energy. Elementally speaking, we have a good balance between the passive water and the active fire. So you could be just not letting on at all that anything is going on, and in fact be very stoic in your... No, scratch that. You're not being stoic. You're not being stoic at all. You're being you're putting on a very happy face. You're still very charming to the people around you, to the extent that they might not have any idea that anything is going on with you at the current time, Sagittarius. And you could be really focusing on the positive here, where we have this Nine of Cups, instead of dwelling on the painful parts of this ending. So, from your perspective, looking at the situation, we do have the Hermit in the upright. This is a very contradictory card in some ways to the Queen of Wands. We have a lot of really complex energies coming through in the readings this week, fire signs, for everyone. Sagittarius may be the most complex, but the Hermit card being your perspective on this situation, you might be very emotionally withdrawn from others, to the extent that you have almost like that you're projecting your personality out as kind of a form of self-defense. And we see that here where the hermit is projecting this light of his enlightenment out into the world to benefit others. I think that's how you're treating your confidence and your vivacious personality at this time, Sagittarius. Leos often get a lot of the credit for having great personalities, but even though is a lot of Leo symbolism all over this card, the Queen of Wands is actually often associated more with Sagittarius. Because Sagittarius is a mutable sign, and how are you supposed to be a cool girl if you have fixed sign energy? And I think that the postal worker is right outside, so there might be a knock on the door momentarily. But I won't leave the stream. They'll just leave it at the door. It won't be a big deal. So, from an outside perspective, we have the Page of Pentacles, and it's showing up in the reverse. Somebody could have been considering you for a position and decided not to move forward with that. And that's okay. I mean, we all need to work to live. Well, we don't all need to work to live. And that might be something that comes up a little later in this reading as well. The Page of Pentacles, too, could be people's perceptions about your marketability given the environment that you're currently occupying. Such that people have these perceptions of you that even though you're putting your best foot forward, and you really are as the Queen of Wands and in the upright, that because of something that has happened that's been very painful, people might not see that shining through. Now, here in the future, Sagittarius, we have the Five of Swords in the reverse. This can be a card of loss. It can be a card of someone else having put a boot on our necks, so to speak. But it can also be a card of giving up this conflict. Because remember, we have the Three of Swords and the Seven of Swords showing up here in the place of the significator. So you might just be throwing up your hands in the future and saying, I'm just not going to deal with this right now. I'm just going to leave this alone and walk away. Just like we see these people walking away in the background. From your hopes and fears. This is in opposition to the Hermit, right? So we're talking about your perspectives on the situation. We have the Fool in the reverse. The Hermit is very wise. And I think that you are hoping to benefit from your experience. Hoping that there's a lesson to be learned here. And not just that you'll become jaded. Because the Fool does not carry a lot of baggage around, right? But with this card in the reverse and with everything that's going on, I think that you're trying your best not to become jaded, to maintain this kind of casual attitude in the face of everything that's going on. Here in the midheaven, this is going to be... Hi, Jason. Thank you for coming. It's really good to see you. So, here in the midheaven, we have the Seven of Swords, and it's showing up in the reverse. There could have been some kind of underhanded dealings. There could have also been self-doubt that you're conquering at this time, and so all the rest of that is going to fall away. This is a very interesting card to get here. We have a lot of swords in your reading this week, Sagittarius, and I do apologize. Rather, I don't say disculpe, I say lo siento, right? That we're really in it now, concrete step. That it just seems like you're having a bit of a difficult time. And my heart really goes out to you in a very genuine way. If that is the case, Sagittarius. But the fact that this is being revealed, the fact that you are shedding people, this can also be about shedding situations that are betraying you, that are stabbing you in the back, or even that just are not benefiting you as much as they're benefiting other people. It can also be about an imbalance in situations, like a friend who is a good friend, but they always expect you to buy them things, and there's not a good exchange there. That they're not necessarily like a bad person, but they're benefiting from you without giving too much back. And the final card for your reading this week, Sagittarius, is the Tower. And the Tower, of course, is one of those transformational energies. This is Mars energy, and remember, Mars is in Aries right now, one of its native signs. The Tower can be construed as scorpionic energy also, because Mars is the ruler of Aries and of Scorpio. And Pluto then became later the ruler of Scorpio. But the important takeaway for your particular reading, Sagittarius, is that sometimes in order for new growth, you have to do a bit of remodeling. And in order to do that, there has to be some demolition. So I see this event that's occurring in your life right now as freeing up space for newer and better things to come through for you. Because that is going to be the intention that you are setting. And moving forward, you're going to be surrounding yourself with much better people. Much better. So that has been the fire sign readings for this week. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I so greatly appreciate every one of you for your support, for coming to the live streams, for watching the videos later, for your likes, your shares, and your subscriptions. I'm going to go now over to the members side of the channel and do the crystal scrying. And I look forward to seeing you again. Very, very soon.